So how's weather down there?
Sunny, brother.
Rub it in.
Yeah,
Rub it in.
but they're freezing it. We're down here, Kylie and Code were at the beach this morning, hang out by the pool this afternoon. Florida, I'm waiting on you to get that Florida house. I'm waiting on you to come down here.
Well, I will tell you, it's not freezing out. I think it's almost 70 degrees today. So it's not a typical New Jersey day. I give you that.
Yeah,
I know you'll,
give it another month, and it'll be way too hot for you to visit. I'll be coming up there to see you.
yeah, you'll appreciate this. I'm having a little, don't even tell me. Yeah, I figured that. I figured that. And we did appreciate the case of blue raspberry you sent us. It was very good.
Oh yeah, man. That was specifically for Jay, since you won't buy him any. But since we've done that, you need to link them or tag them in this video, and maybe you can get a sponsorship out of it.
Listen, as long as they keep on working like they do, I don't need any money for it. It's great.
I hear that, brother. Good stuff.
Let me give it a few more minutes. We got a bunch of attendees joining. Some familiar names from around the country, which is great. Yeah, so we are just Taylor's down in are you in Vero or Tallahassee?
I'm in Vero right now.
You're in Vero. Okay, cool.
And I'm sure we'll get into that, but for those people joining, I'm in IAR with Carmine, and we've got an office up in Tallahassee, which is where most of my staff is. We have a satellite office in Jacksonville, which we've got one CFP out there, and then my family and I we're full time down in Vero Beach, and we're getting a satellite office set up down here. So we kind of, well, I guess Vero is midway through the state. I was going to say we're at the triangle of the state, but we don't go much further south than Vero.
Yeah, and as they call Fairfield, New Jersey, is the Vero Beach of New Jersey.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, we're about 4 minutes in. Why don't we kick it off? Taylor Hodges, I want to go through kind of the evolution that you took through the industry. Just like you heard, Taylor's an advisor with Cornerstone. He's under his own DBA called Southern Capital, and got a really great presence there.
With a ship wheel.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I don't think he's ever been on a boat before. That's a whole other story. So Taylor's down in Florida, has a very good presence there. He's very niched in the business owner market, which we'll get into, but. Taylor, you went through a very similar, transition in the beginning of your career to me. You started at a large insurance company and took a couple steps from there. I want to go through, like, when you were at that insurance company, what made you kind of look, get your head over that fence to look at what other options were out there?
Yeah, well, similar story to yours. I got recruited by the insurance firm. Both of my parents were state employees. Very basic living up in Tallahassee. And I met this guy that was very successful, met him bird hunting, and he happened to be one of the top producers with a large insurance firm. And I didn't know anything about the business, knew nothing about the industry, but, saw this guy's successful, doing well in life. He and I kind of hit it off, talking a lot about Florida State football. And long story short, I ended up working for him for about 7 years as a paraplanner. And the guy taught me a lot. I still have a lot of respect for him, still a good relationship with him. And he is a very successful producer, but in the insurance space, you have requirements that you have to hit each year, and it's almost a competitive nature, whether it's in office or if you're at the higher levels, like, this group that I was with we're competing with it in MDRT, we're chasing the leadership council and the chairman's council every year. And it's always this competition about what can you produce, really from a competitive standpoint, how much premium can you sell? What annuities, what proprietary products are you placing? And I'm not, the guy that I worked under is a very, very smart businessman. He helped a lot of clients. We impacted a lot of people's lives, but I never liked the idea of having a quota that I needed to hit every year by selling products. That just never felt right to me. And plus, I wanted to work with small business owners. I've always been attracted to business and business strategy, and that was the direction I wanted to go. And it didn't really align with the goals that the agency that I was with had. They wanted me to push product and find ways to deliver more whole life and term insurance on an annual basis, really regardless of what the long-term relationship was with the client. It's almost, counterintuitive to the way that you and I do business today, to where everything is relationship based and planning first. This was much more of, the guy that I worked with had 3,000 clients and he may speak to 100 of them a year, but it was more about the new business that we were bringing in on an annual basis, rather than making sure the people we were already working with were getting the most value out of that relationship on an ongoing basis.
It's reducing that client relationship down to a transaction.
Yep.
And that's something that I was obviously subject to, being at that insurance company. And look, they manufacture product, they use their advisor or sales force to get it out to the marketplace. And in a lot of cases, it's not harmful to a client, especially in our case, because I know I didn't put integrity. I always led with integrity. I didn't let the sales or the recognition trump that. But we know there's some people that don't. And, in my opinion, it's just there's a better way. So you recognize that there was a better way to serve your clients. And you went to an independent RIA as kind of your second firm. And then you actually left and went to another independent RIA. And this is something we don't see a whole lot of. We usually see the jump from the wirehouse or the insurance company or the broker dealer to the indie RIA space. And then, so take me through what happened at that first independent RIA to make you again look over the fence. And then what were the things, because I know you went and interviewed with many firms, what were the things you were looking for, or more importantly, what are things you weren't looking for at your next home?
Yeah, and it was it may not be as drastic as it sounds. It was more of a baby step transition. I came from the insurance world with an insurance BD, and everything was very, as you said, kind of product focused, and I wanted to shift out of that with a more of a focus in working with business owners and helping them with all-encompassing planning, from their personal financial plan as well as business strategy. And it was, I was 25 years old when I left that insurance BD. I, got recruited very young, and luckily I got hooked up with a good guy, taught me a lot of stuff as I transitioned from paraplanner to full-on advisor within that insurance BD. My first transition to the independent space was what I didn't know. I was learning as I went. And so I landed at an independent RIA with a hybrid BD. So we were that hybrid model of an independent BD, even though I was operating under an independent RIA with that arm attached to us. So it was more of that kind of middle baby step. I knew the direction I wanted to head, but I didn't know the right questions to ask. I was involved, that was around the same time that I hired, our coach, Joe Lucas, to give me some more guidance. I got more involved with nationwide masterminds so that I could educate myself on what else is out there. And I was with that middle firm for about 5 years, as we were figuring things out, still, kind of working with anybody that would fog a mirror, because you've got to pay bills. And, in the very beginning stages, you're building up your client base so that you can afford the freedom to be able to niche down and work with the clients that you want to work with. So during that middle phase of that initial RIA we were with, I had a great experience there. But as I got deeper into the exit planning world, the business consulting side of things and value enhancement for small business owners, we just didn't necessarily see eye to eye. And that is completely fine. They were a larger RIA. They had more strict rules and more of a strict guidelines that they wanted you to follow, which is good because they have to carry that across all of their advisors. But, we're working with multi-million-dollar business owners that are broke. They don't have liquid assets. Most of their assets are tied up in real estate and their business. And so we could be doing all this fantastic planning for these small business owners, but the only way that I'm able to be compensated is managing their assets like every other financial advisor and RIA. And that didn't fit the mold of the way that I was working with these business owners. And so around year 3 in that RIA, I knew that I wasn't going to make an immediate jump, but I knew a change had to happen. If we were going to continue to build out our firm the way we wanted to do it and work with small business owners, and more importantly, track their net worth of how their business value is enhancing for the end goal of having a liquidity event, and how that will eventually be harvested back onto their balance sheet, but helping them through legal strategies, tax strategies, yes, the basic financial planning things, because we have to make sure the boat, the holes in their boat are covered before we can focus on the business. But that was just outside the scope and really outside what that other RIA wanted me to focus on, which was more gathering assets, again, much better than the previous firm I was at, baby steps, but it was much more around gathering assets, working with retirees, and being that basic financial advisor. And really one of the things that pushed me out of that world was I knew the value we were delivering to small business owners. I saw the impact of it. I saw the value we were delivering. And there was all these conversations about fee compression beginning in our industry around, how it's going to zero because, unless you're doing high level, which we don't do, options and derivatives, at this point, asset management or portfolio management is almost somewhat passive. It's becoming a commodity. And I completely understand the fee compression conversation if you're not providing anything with extra value, right?
That's right.
And that was not some, I am a financial advisor, I am a CFP, but I would rather stick a fork in my eye than sit and talk to a client all day about stocks and bonds of their portfolio. That's just not what I'm not saying. I'm not good at it. We do good portfolio management, which, you and your team help us out with. And I have another CFP on staff that specializes in our personal financial planning business. But I much more enjoy the conversations with business owners about business strategy, increasing the value enhancement of their business with the eventual sale of that business. That's what I enjoy doing. And so I began to have, looking over the fence at other options, which would give us more flexibility to really build the firm that we wanted to build by focusing on working with small business owners and being able to charge the fees that we should be able to charge for the value we're delivering. And, in the previous firm I was with, that was somewhat capped. They didn't want me to charge, over a certain financial planning fee or over a certain business consulting fee. And that was very limiting to what we were trying to do with the business. And so, as you said, when I began looking over the fence at other options, I kind of felt like the hot girl at prom. I flew around the country and interviewed a lot of different RIAs and went to the dinners and got all the promises. And we were offered upfront cash to join their firm. And it was actually something you taught me because, again, at this time, I'm 31 years old, and being offered more money up front to join this firm than I thought I would ever see, coming from a redneck kid playing in the woods to being offered this much money just to join this person's firm and continue to do what we're doing. And if you kind of back into that equation and you help me understand this, nothing is free. There's no free upfront money. If somebody, and this is one of the bigger lessons that I learned, if any of the advisors on this webinar are considering leaving the independent broker-dealer channel or an insurance BD, and you're being offered money up front to join a firm to run your business, they're making that money back 4x somewhere else along that relationship. And that's what we had to back into, which is why, after interviewing the RIAs and flying around and doing the dinners, we ultimately landed on, working with you. And it all comes back to culture and what we're trying to build, giving the guidance of here's a way you can build this firm. Here's a way of technologies you can use. But and you even have this on your wall, client's needs above all else. If you bring us something that is for the benefit of the client and we can easily show that it's creating and adding value to that relationship, then we're going to have a conversation about it, even if it's not something you and your team are actively using. We use softwares like valuation softwares and value enhancement softwares and business coaches and business strategies that your other advisors aren't doing because it's easy to see the value it delivers to the client relationship.
You've heard this term before. I think we've used it. There's advisors that are portfolio first, then there's advisors that are people first. And the biggest difference is, managing assets is becoming more a commodity now that I think you could get your money managed at Walmart at this point, right?
You can buy gold at Costco.
So, the level of strategic planning you and your team offer a client that's engaging you on the consulting side is you're not finding that in a robo-advisor or a solution at one of the big wirehouses where you have, you pay a certain amount of basis points per year, you get one financial plan a year and you get one call a year, right? That doesn't exist. And for people that think that performance trumps service, I think you really need to just try to rethink it for a moment. Value's still there. There's been no fee compression on the private advisor side. We haven't seen it. And I've been hearing that myth for many, many years that, robos are going to rule the industry. Just saw today, Goldman Sachs sold their robo division to Betterment. So they're getting out of the private wealth one-on-one client space with United Capital sale, and now their Marcus division going to Betterment. So it's very interesting to see what's happened. What's happening in the industry is backing up the fact that the automated investment solutions did not gain as much ground because people still want to deal with people. That's today. Who knows? In 20 years, there's a robot sitting in my office, and great, it's all good. But as of today, people still want people. You know, when you went around and met with other RIAs, I know you met with 3 or 4 of them. You got offers, you got flown around, you were that hot girl at prom for a quick minute. And what were some of the things, that red flags that you saw that, and not even a red flag, could have been something that, hey, this firm was offering this seemed very good, or as soon as they said that, what were a couple of things? And I get this question all the time, advisors that we're talking to potentially joining, like, hey, I'm getting this money from this firm, can you match it? And my answer is no, because in an independent RIA, like we're built, we don't make revenue off of anything else, right? So there is no offset. But what were some of the good and the bad of some of the other options that you looked at before making up your mind?
And I do want to float back really quick to the conversation about fee compression, because I think that is such a, lack of better words, I think it's a mindset cancer in our industry. Because if you are having conversations about fee compression, you need to take a better look at your business and what value you're actually delivering as an advisor. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just about the portfolio return that we bring to a client. If that's the way you're gauging and you're putting all of your value on your returns to a client, I think you're somewhat missing the boat, and you need to change your mindset. Because, you know, and again, I'm dealing with small business owners, and so there maybe are more opportunities for tax planning and estate planning. But, you know, every Q4 we meet, so more so often than that once a year meeting you mentioned that most financial advisors give. We meet with our clients, you know, 3 to 7 times a year, 3 to 8 times a year, depending on how complex that business strategy and that mm-hmm. business consulting situation is. But it's also not just us meeting with the clients. You know, for instance, a couple months ago in February, I had a sit-down meeting with a client that's getting ready to sell their business. And it wasn't just me and the client, it was me, my personal financial planner, our CFP in my office that's running that client's personal financial plan. I'm focused on the value enhancement and the business consulting for that client's business. We have their tax attorney in the room, we have their CPA in the room, and we have their estate attorney in the room, all talking about that client's situation. Now, we are managing assets for that client, and the returns have been good because last year was a great year, and you know, Q1 of this year started off great as well. That could be where that conversation stops. But when that client was going to exit his business, he was going to have around a $900,000 tax bill mm-hmm. when the sale occurred. Through the planning that we did with the tax attorney, the estate attorney, and the CPA, we were able to reduce that tax bill to $250,000. Saving that client well over $500,000 in taxes just through efficient planning. That needs to be where advisors are looking in the overall scope of the value that you're bringing to the table for clients. There should not be, if you're doing true holistic financial planning and you're really doing the CFP approach and taking the larger approach to a client's plan, and it's not just portfolio management, there should be no conversations of fee compression in your daily conversation. No.
Well said. Well said indeed.
But to your other question around, you know, what were, you know, quote unquote, some of the red flags after, you know, you and I spoke, and I talked to our coach, Joe Lucas, a lot about this. But when I dug into that kind of upfront money situation, even though it sounds great and it'll make you blush a little bit, if you dig into it about proprietary products they want you to push and things that, you know, quotas that you have to meet for those firms pushing some sort of products. I'm not a golfer, I know you're not either, but I equate it to going to play 18 holes of golf with 2 clubs in your bag. You know, you don't have the full scope. You can't offer what may be in the client's best interest if you're trying to find ways to place a whole life policy, place some type of insurance policy, or sell some type of annuity or mutual fund that is proprietary. You're truly not, in my opinion, being a fiduciary for that client. So as I started digging into the upfront money and how that money would be made back for that firm, that was immediate red flag. That though it sounds great, I didn't want the firm that was going to be offering me upfront money because they're making it back somewhere else in that relationship. And to me, that's just that's always a hesitation. You know, if you're not being upfront with me enough that say you're going to offer me this money, tell me how it's going to be made back. And that's just because of the industry that I came from, just like you. You know, I know that game. I played that game. And so I wanted more of the independent feature to be our own DBA, to be our own firm, but have the resources we needed and the guidance that I needed to build the firm that we were building. And so as I traveled around, I interviewed these different RIAs, payouts are what they are, the expense for what you pay for an RIA, they're not drastically different. We knew we wanted more of a small government RIA so that we could build our firm the way that we wanted to build it and not have all this technology pushed on us that, hey, you're going to pay for regardless if you use it or not, similar to the way a lot of insurance BDs are. And so we came into the mindset, or we came into those meetings with an idea of what we were building, but they're looking for guidance on the technologies and the processes to build it. And I would say that was one of the bigger things that led to, through you and my conversations around, I was able to tell you, here's my vision. And I've got proof of concept. I know this thing works to have two separate firms, the personal financial planning firm and then the business consulting and value acceleration firm. And these two things work hand in hand. There's different softwares, there's different processes. Can you help me get to this? And that was one of the complications is when you're going into the RIA channel, you have everything at your disposal. And this is the quote that I heard from Michael Kitces years ago, is the great thing about the independent channel is you can paint your house whatever color you want. You can build your house however you want. The downside about the independent channel is you can spend 100 hours deciding what color you want to paint your front door because you have so many options. And so that's what I was looking at as a young advisor coming into this. I knew what my long-term vision was. I knew what we wanted to build, but I needed guidance to help us fit the right technologies that everything spoke together. I came from a firm where they used e-money. I was very proficient with e-money, e-money power user, and so is my team. So I know we wanted to use e-money because that's how we track net worth for our business owners. We have specific valuation softwares that we use to run the valuations for the business through that value acceleration process that, I'm also a CEPA certified exit planning advisor. And so we go through specific valuation softwares that we then use that to plug in e-money, and we track net worth for clients, not just portfolio management. And so that's what I was looking for, is I knew where I wanted to go, but I needed help and guidance with the right softwares that would talk to each other, not be handcuffed to use them if they weren't the right fit, that we could bring in our own softwares as long as it was in the best interest of the client, but that we had a guide that we could follow from somebody that had the planning first mindset, understood our vision, understood the value we were delivering to clients, and would give us enough flexibility and freedom to build this thing out the way that we wanted to build and not be constrained because we weren't doing it the traditional financial advisor path.
I have a question. And by the way, any attendees here, there's a Q&A box. Please feel free. We got a question here, Taylor. This segues into the next segment. Is during your transitions, did you lose a lot of clients during the two transitions?
Yes and no. So the reason it's a yes is we lost the clients that we wanted to lose. And so, back in the days of building those books, building that book of business, I acquired another practice along that path from a retiring advisor to small book of business. The guy had some health issues and I had a personal relationship with him. And he was working with a lot of clients that were set up in annuities and set up in A shares and stuff like that. And we helped a lot of those clients with full-on financial planning and estate planning and working with their attorneys. And we still have some of those clients left today. But, we also had a lot of those clients that no longer fit the business that we were building and focusing on working with small business owners. And so we did lose some clients, but that was intentional conversations that we had. And we helped them find another advisor, maybe somebody local, because we work with clients all around the nation. And so we've got clients, obviously all around the Southeast and in Florida. And if we were no longer a good fit for a client, and that, my C client is another advisor's A client, that they're going to get the very best attention, very best value from another advisor, and maybe it's somebody local. So if a client was no longer a good fit if we were no longer able to provide the value that client needed because our focus has changed, we help them set up with another advisor. Along that same shift, when I did leave that independent RIA with the hybrid broker dealer, and I did end up joining Cornerstone, I completely separated away from FINRA and I dropped my BD license. And that was intentional. And we left 6 figures of revenue on the table making that transition. And, that was something I had a little bit of heartburn about that you helped me through as well, that it was the best thing that we ever did. And so now we're RIA only. I no longer, FINRA affiliated, even though we did leave revenue on the table making that initial change. It was the best thing for our firm based on the vision and the direction that we're headed. So we did lose clients. Any of the clients that we wanted to keep that were actively involved with us doing planning, we have many clients that are on retainer for, monthly retainer for business consulting. We didn't lose one of those clients, and everybody completely understood the reason we were changing, because we had the upfront conversation with them about why we were changing. That we were making this change because it allowed us to be the firm and deliver the value that they needed, not only in their personal financial planning, but also in their business. And so I think we probably did a good job of having maybe too much communication and explaining to clients why we were making this change and why it was in their best interest as well as our best interest, because there was no additional cost or fees to the client. It was simply they did a DocuSign, but they understood why we were making the change and the long-term benefits and impact it would have from the value we could deliver.
It's so true. And I've helped dozens of advisors transition out of wirehouses, insurance companies, other RIAs, and there's always a fear of, well, my clients aren't going to understand. It's a sense of instability if I move. That's a big fear. It was a fear of mine as well. But I think if you really are good at communicating the why, and by the way, if you're leaving a constrained environment like a wirehouse or insurance company, for example, and you're going to the independent channel, if you can articulate the why correctly, hey, this is because we have more options. We're acting as a true fiduciary, full transparency, no product requirements. That's all pro-client. So if you could communicate that to your client, there isn't a client that's going to be mad that you're leaving. In fact, during my transition year was my best year ever. And for 6 months, we were shut down during transition because of those conversations. Those clients clients are rehiring you, but now they know that powerful why, like, you're doing all this work to better my relationship. Our fees are going to be the same, but your capabilities are much more. I would say our relationships only got better, but it is a fear. So I do understand, but again, helping dozens, I've never heard of an advisor lose an ideal client because they were moving. It hasn't happened yet.
And I think it goes back to, it's the same thing around the fee compression conversation is, if that's a fear of somebody leaving, whether it's a wirehouse, whether it's an insurance BD, because you're going to lose the big name on the door, take a step back and maybe have, come to Jesus meeting with the value you're truly delivering to clients. We help clients in so many ways other than just asset management. You don't need a big firm's name on your door in order to attract and do business development. If you're truly delivering client, you're approaching this from a fiduciary standpoint, and you have the client's best interest at heart, you're going to be successful. You're doing the right things for the right reasons. You don't need some big name on your door from a firm that everybody recognizes. I mean, in today's world, I think that the independent channel, being a true fiduciary, being able to come to the table and say, I don't sell products to you. We're going to gather the smartest people that fits your specific needs and customize this plan and bring the right, and we're going to quarterback this advisory roundtable with you alongside in your business. That is so much more attractive, at least to the people that we're working with. We don't have fee conversations around like your fees are too high, because clients see the value, and it's not because of some name that I had on the door that they're coming to work with me. And we do no marketing whatsoever. We've grown strictly by word of mouth and referrals from clients and our network of other advisors that we bring in. And that's because if you're doing this for the right reasons, you're doing the right things for the right reasons, and you're delivering value, you're going to grow. And it's going to be based on your track record and the things that you're doing, not because of the name on your door.
That's right. That's right. Now, we share the same, I use this term loosely because it's got a negative connotation, obsession with personal development, coaching. So that's a culture that I wanted to make sure that every advisor had access to. Between myself and we partnered with some of the two industry renowned business coaches, one on the operations side and one more on the mindset side. Just about everyone at Cornerstone engages them in one way, shape, or form. But being having a focus on what I would consider mental strength and focus on personal development. You follow a PD budget like I do every year, right? So it's a certain percentage of top line revenue that you're going to invest back in yourself. And I actually upped it this year because I found out last year's a little low. So I added some. I now have 3 business coaches. You have so we all know. You and I both know how important that is. It's oxygen to people like you and I. What impact does that have? Having a focus on personal development, coaching and consulting, having access to that. What impact? How has that impacted you in the last, say, 5 years?
I mean, I could say that, obviously it's been a phenomenal impact, and you're right. That is something that, you and I do share an obsession about, but it's also a compounding effect. My mindset of where I was in relation to hiring coaches, joining masterminds, looking outside of my bubble for better information and bringing it back to my team and my clients, and developing the people within our own firm. You and I have this conversation quite often about who do you want to be a hero to? And many people would say they want to be a hero to their clients or hero, and that is very important. I want to be a hero to my team. I'm developing people within my team because that's where the greatest ROI comes from. I'm not only changing clients' lives, or my team and I are, we're changing their lives, their families' lives, their employees' lives, but also we're changing the lives of everybody that works with or for the firms that we're running, because we're teaching them the same concept of reinvesting in yourself and having that compounding effect. And it comes back from when I was working with an insurance BD firm when I first got started. I was working alongside a very big fish in a very small pond. And when I went to the independent channel and I learned everything else I started learning, it was like drinking from a fire hydrant, of what all the options are out there and all the different ways that a successful advisory and planning firm could be built. I knew that I didn't want to be constrained to my bubble that I was in on a daily basis. I needed to think outside of that. And so that led me to hiring the mindset, the business coach that you and I both have. It led me to joining multiple masterminds, to joining professional organizations, not only in the financial advisory space, but tax organizations, legal organizations, leadership trainings, to further expand my mindset to help me think bigger and larger. And so it's had a compounding effect because it gets larger and larger each year. I see the benefits of this style of thinking, this style of, you call it continuing education, but it's really just, it's making yourself not only a better advisor, but it's making me, and I know you're in the same boat, continuing to invest in myself through leadership training, through these, hiring coaches and masterminds. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better leader, a better father, a better husband, a better business owner, a better financial advisor. It impacts everything in your life. And, and this is one of the things that you helped me understand years ago, is it's important to have that personal development budget. And I think you and I use pretty similar guidelines of percentage of top line or percentage of earnings, whichever route you want to follow. But I've increased that substantially each year to the point this year, and I know you're in the same, you're above me, but I've got a 6-figure PD budget that I'm purely reinvesting back into myself, back into my team, back into my family, of going to leadership trainings, joining masterminds, hiring coaches, getting exposed to the different ways that people are doing business and running their business to where I know I want to be.
It's funny because that personal development budget has more than doubled for me in the last 3 years. And we've had the most growth in the last 3 years. So I have yet to find an operator, an entrepreneur, a business owner that doesn't see the same compounding effect of the more you invest in yourself, the better all your important things become. The relationships with my wife and my kids, and with my team, and with my advisor teams, and all that gets better. The more money, the more time and money you invest in yourself. And it's very to me, it's obvious. I don't know why some people don't get it. I just happen to be a very good student when people much smarter than me say, hey, and this is something business coach said. He goes, if I told you to run through that cinder block wall to be successful, you won't question it. You would just do it. I go, yeah, you've been a coach to advisors for 30 years. Am I stupid enough to think I'm smarter than you? No, of course not. And that it's putting pride aside a bit and just being a good student.
Yeah, it's being humble enough to know that you don't have all the answers, and you're willing to go outside to be in a room with smarter people that are doing very interesting things and learn from them. And it's not going to be a complete ripoff and deploy. You're going to learn the things that fit what you're building and take one nugget back, and it completely changes your business.
That's right.
I think I've probably been somewhat spoiled on this because of the clientele we work with being, we're not working with, Fortune 500 companies by any means. We work with small business owners, mainly between, $2 and $25 million EBITDA. So they're successful entrepreneurs, successful business owners, but I've been spoiled in this because I calculate through the softwares we use. I calculate the ROI that these business owners get from making those investments back into their business and back into their team. I see it happen on an annual basis when we are tracking their net worth of what is the ROI when we bring in a management specialist, a management coach. What is the ROI when we bring in this specific coach to teach our entire team about something that's going to make our vision, our business, our mission, and our standard operating procedures more efficient. And so I've been a student of that game, seeing it happen with business owners, as well as, have been lucky enough to be in masterminds and hire coaches and be affiliated with people that are having that same experience, but in our industry. So I get to see both sides of it, and it was never a question to me. And that's why, similar to you, I continue to double down on that each year. But while, yes, it's extremely important for any entrepreneur, any leader to have that mindset of investing and have that personal development budget back into themselves and into their business, one thing that, and I'll give you credit for this, you helped me understand, was you got to have the same mindset. If you're going to lever up yourself and invest in yourself, you need to do the same thing for your team. Because at the end of the day, we're running a service-based firm, right? Our product are the people that work with us that are a reflection of the business and the culture that we're running. And so, starting last year, we did the same thing. We had a personal development budget set for all of our team members. And if there's a specific conference you want to go to, for instance, our CFP, he's going to Jocko Willink's leadership training in Nashville next week, sending him to that, all expenses paid, because, as you always say, a rising tide raises all boats. If he brings back leadership information from that conference and helps integrate it back into our team, and it makes him a better advisor to our clients, it's going to raise everything that we're doing within this firm.
That's right. I'm going to bring up a mastermind, and everyone that's on this webinar, thank you for joining us. You've heard Taylor and I mention masterminds. I'm a member of a few. Taylor's in a couple. I've been in a bunch of different over the years, but I'll tell you, they're invaluable. Find them. I'm going to give you an example. One of the first, probably deeper interactions I had with Taylor early on, we happened to be in the same mastermind group. And was that meeting in Florida or Arizona?
No, that first one was in California.
California. Yeah. And this was the time where Taylor was with that first independent RIA, the one that limited his capabilities. And he got an offer from someone who he knew and trusted in the industry. And it included real estate and partnership and all this other stuff. And Taylor walks up.
Yeah.
He was so happy. He goes, I got this deal. And he whiteboards it out. And within 30 seconds, he went from cloud 9 to 6 feet under. Because me and a couple, probably there were 2 other drivers in that conversation that we both know very well, that kind of took hold and go, Taylor, you're looking at this wrong. This is the way you need to look at it. And it confirmed to Taylor, he was looking at it, I wouldn't say wrong, differently. Now, I was detached. Our good friend, I don't want to say his name because he might get mad, but our good friend from Texas was detached. So him and I were very vocal with, hey, Taylor, have you thought of this? And all of a sudden you just see, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that. And he left saying, I'll now confirm that's not the route. Now, if Taylor didn't have that sounding board of people, we had 18, 19 advisors from Alaska to Florida in that room. All people that cared about, we all care about, Taylor being in the best position possible. We gave great feedback. It wasn't what he wanted to hear, but we weren't wrong. If he didn't have that feedback, would have that decision been different? There's a possibility his decision would have been different. And he would have been not in the position you're in today. You probably would still be fine monetarily, but I don't think he'd have the capacity to be really compounding the impact to his clients that he's doing today. So I could say, seek it out. If you can't find one, build one. And if you want just like best practices on how to format them, message me. I'll give you exactly what we do. I'll even give you the form.
Yeah.
That I have each advisor. We have 3 at Cornerstone. We have 3 a year. Advisor fills a form out. You have you present your biggest issue, problem, opportunity, and we give feedback. So if anyone here needs help on how to structure it or how to find it, please message me. I can tell you that's one thing that has been so invaluable to me and to Taylor and to everyone here is we have a group of as long as it's like-minded people in the same room, 1 + 1 can equal 4. Yep. So if you can't find one, build one. I would tell you that. And we're at 42 minutes in. So the problem with Taylor and I, we can get on the phone any day of the week and talk for hours. It's really bad. So, but I wanted to be mindful. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you. I know we had a couple questions in the chat that I think were answered. If they weren't, please message me back. If you have any questions, please follow up with us. But thank you for joining. I hope to God some people on this webinar can take some tidbits back and just please take action.
Yep.
Procrastination is the killer. If there's something here that you heard that you think is going to benefit you, go down the rabbit hole and do some work. All right. Thank you very much. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. And Taylor, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to see everybody.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.